I wanted to hate this article, and I kind of hate this article, but I still have to say there's some interesting points to it. Kotaku says, Hades 2 is the kind of hot we need right now. And at first you're like, you're right to kind of roll your fucking eyes. Because it's like, shut the fuck up, Kotaku. And maybe it was written with that in mind, to get people to be upset about it. Because it's like, okay, so now not only are you telling people that sex in games or overt sexuality in games is bad, but if it's done the way we tell you it's okay, then it's acceptable. And I'm like, come on, man. So at first I'm just like, this is disgusting. This is such obnoxious horseshit. And I'm the most liberal, progressive motherfucker you guys know. And even then, I take issue with this, right? It says, despite what certain corners of the internet might believe, there isn't a lack of attractive people in modern video games. I agree with that. Baldur's Gate 3 just set Game of the Year award records, and that game was full of hotties. But when compared to something like Stellar Blade's Eve, the standard bearer for the latest gamer culture war, the manner in which Hades depicts its characters and their attractiveness is fundamentally different. And then it just basically goes on to say that, and again, this is where they're not wrong about this, which is in Hades 2, they say everyone is horny for each other, and thus it feels far less leery and creepy. These are sexual people in the game, gods who were infamous for their rampant and often unchecked desires. Aphrodite, goddess of sexual love and beauty, would be naked and have pink hair down to her ass crack. There is a smorgasbord of sexiness on display, not a single decidedly straight male-oriented take on attractiveness. That's obnoxious. Fuck you. But beyond that, though, it talks about how these characters know they're sexual and it's clear that they're owning their sexuality. Whereas Eve, it says, is just blandly attractive. She is the object of desire, not the owner of it. Okay. I mean, there is truth to that. There is absolute truth to that in the sense that, yes, Eve is the product of a straight male who makes a character to be just, you know, leered at and masturbated to. And again, I don't think anything's wrong with that as long as the people involved are doing it consensually. And I do think this article from Kotaku is annoying as fuck. But I also think they kind of do have a point. There is a different mentality, and one could very easily argue healthier mentality. If you're dealing with sexual people or sexualized people in media and part of their character is an embracing and an owning and a delight in that sexuality. Whereas Eve is very much just there's no reason I'm dressed like this. I don't even dress like this just because I like it and I think it's fun. We're all dressed like this. All the women are dressed like this in the game. You know, they're right. They're right. I don't have a problem with it. But at a healthy level, they're right. How do you know the artist that made Hades characters didn't jerk off to it, says V? I don't, but that it doesn't matter. What the article is saying is that regardless, these are all characters that, yes, you can look at and say they are hot and they are sexual. But, well, I don't know, you know, but that's part of who they are and they know it and they own it and they revel in it. And again, I'm not saying Eve shouldn't be in existence. I'm excited for this. I like sexuality like this in media, but I think you would be just being in denial, or if you looked at her and you said that is also part of her, she's aware of it. I've played the demo. I've seen the cutscenes. There's nothing about this game that, look at how Adam is dressed and look at how Eve is dressed. It's not like we have stepped into a universe in Stellar Blade where everyone is just overtly sexual, like in Hades. This is clearly not that. And again, that's fine, but let's just not pretend that, because my initial take on this article was I hate it. And I still hate it because it's so fucking full of itself. And what's wrong with designing sexy characters for straight men? What the fuck's wrong with that? But they are right in the sense that if you should be able to keep that idea and that criticism in your head and also go, yeah, but they do have a point. They do have a point. Shut up, Lux. This constant preaching is getting annoying. It reminds me of the church telling people not to read certain books. Just don't read Kotaku. I mean, ultimately, what Kotaku is saying This is why people have to have open fucking minds, right? Because you need to be able to look at Kotaku and despise a bunch of their horse shit. But you also need to be able to look at them and go, yeah, but here's a part where they have a point. Just like you need, if you're a progressive like me, to look at the MAGA people and say they're full of shit. But there's a couple of points here that they're actually making some sense. That's fucking all I'm saying. The idea that, you know, you got to listen to other people with ideas that you don't like, because that's where you're going to get the juice, man. Do you see that? You see that fucking, we're going to get back to games, I promise. You see that fucking video going around from Columbia University where a bunch of Palestinian protesters were like zombie-like repeating whatever the head of the protest was saying, and they made a human chain and they were pushing some Jewish students out of a area or something. It's just like, God, what has happened to people? You're supposed to be fucking free thinkers, critical thinkers, man. Who cares? It's just stupid kids. That's the point. That's the future. College is these kids are paying tons of money to go to a university to be prepared to go out into the real world as some of the most educated people in our culture. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Before someone says something they will regret. Speaking of, this came across my timeline. Somebody posted a picture of Lara Croft, and somebody said, this has got to be the hottest Lara image I've ever seen. I'm like, you know what? They're not wrong. That's pretty fucking hot. That's pretty fucking good. And then they did another one. Look at this one. That's pretty great, man. It was good to see Lara Croft back in form. I hope. And I don't know many women that would look at this and say this is a problem. Most women would look at this and go, that'd be cool. If I went to the jungle and I was having adventures, I'd fucking wear that shit. I imagine most women would want to look like this. Again, this is unrealistic beauty standards. I'm not saying that we shouldn't push back on that at times, but in a fantasy setting, I don't know. I think she's hot, and I think most women would look at her and say, I'd love to look like that. I think she looks great. I think she looks super fucking hot, man. Sorry. I guess I'm supposed to be embarrassed by that or something. But I don't. And I'll tell you what, I think this one looks hotter. Isn't that terrible? But fuck you. I don't know. I don't know. If I had to choose one, like I have these options in my life. If I had to choose one, I'd take the bottom one, though. There you go. She's going home with me, fellas. Sorry. She does look great. I love the new. I mean, again, if it's the new Tomb Raider and it's this with the butt, I'd say, yeah, that's probably a little much. Not that I don't like it and that it's bad or shameful, but then I think it starts to push into that realm of she's just there for the guys. And that's fine, but that's not Lara Croft. But if you just kind of pulled the back of the shorts down, I think we'd have ourselves a fucking winner. It's about balancing. The problem is we have idiots in our culture. We have no media literacy. If people could look at this and go, this is fantasy. Are there women who look like this? Yeah, sure. But they have to fucking starve themselves probably or get cosmetic surgery, and they're obsessed with their looks, and they're probably miserable people to be around because all they are worried about is, did I go over my X number of calories every day? Trust me, I know these people. I know some of them. That said, though, so I do think it's important to kind of be aware of what this represents, and there's so much of it. So I do think it's good that we are seeing pushback, but I think we've pushed back way too fucking far, because I think there are people out there that can recognize this as fantasy, but they have to be the ones who also read the Kotaku article and they go, as annoying as this is, they have some points in this article too. The ones that bother me are the ones that are like, yeah, fuck, they're just dumb, woke. And they don't think about it for more than 10 seconds to realize that both sides of the argument are valid. Not every argument's a both sidesism that is worth your time, but this one is. All right, let's move on with our goddamn cockadoodie lives. Look at this. Did you see this?